Welcome to CRE Fast 5. I'm Carly Iacono. Today, we are reviewing the three main ownership structures in commercial real estate: fee simple, leasehold, and ground lease. Let's start with the most common, fee simple ownership. With fee simple, you have full possession of the property after purchase. This includes the ground, any structures on the property, and even the air above and any minerals below. With fee simple ownership, you hold the property into perpetuity and have total control. Of course, if you have a tenant in place, and especially one under a net lease that covers the entire parcel, your ability to alter structures, change roads, or even use the parking lot will be governed by that lease for as long as your tenant is in place. So even though you fully own the property, you may have very little to no control during the term of the lease. This, of course, ties into the passive nature of net lease property ownership. The second type of ownership is a ground lease, it can also be called a leased fee ownership interest. In this scenario, you own the land, which is then leased to another entity that owns the building for the term of the lease. Note that the landowner will receive the building at the end of the lease term without paying for the construction. This is a fantastic advantage. Also, ground leases typically have lower rent and lower taxes, which are beneficial for both the landlord and the tenant. Now, there are two disadvantages of the ground lease ownership structure. The main one being that you do not own the building, so therefore you cannot take advantage of real estate tax depreciation. If you exchange into a ground lease property and do not have any depreciable basis remaining, this will likely not be a concern. However, if you do have basis left to depreciate, the tax consequences should be considered, so be sure to confer with your accountant. The second disadvantage is that ground lease cap rates are typically even lower than fee simple triple net yields, since they are perceived to have even less risk. Expect a compressed return on a ground lease. The third and least common form of ownership is a leasehold interest. With a leasehold, you have control of the property and improvements for a fixed period of time. When the agreed upon time, usually outlined in a formal lease document, runs out, the premise returns to the ground owner. So it's the inverse of a ground lease. It's worth noting that if you transfer the leasehold property to a new owner, that individual can only use the premises for the remaining period outlined in the original agreement. The main benefits to leasehold ownership include potentially higher levels of tax depreciation, higher yield, and a lower initial acquisition cost. The challenges is really quite obvious. At the end of the lease period, you need to give back the building structural improvements to the landowner unless you negotiate for an extension. That concludes today's overview of fee simple ground lease and leasehold ownership structures. Should you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to discuss further. That was CRE Fast 5. I'm Carly Iacono. I'll see you soon.